Hey, so thinking about the topics for different videos, and I was gonna make a video about a specific topic, but I think I'll just start by kind of talking about the different things because that's just what I feel like talking about right now. So I think I think I'm gonna make a kind of series of videos about each topic. Like I'll have like five about each thing, kind of starting out, and the first one is gonna be about this book I'm reading called The Convoluted Universe. It's um It's kind of hard to explain without it sounding fake. I don't know, but it's this woman named Dolores Cannon who was a hypnotherapist in I think the 1990s and early 2000s, and she would do past life regression with people, and gradually started finding that people had past lives in like ancient Egypt or Greece or on like other planets and stuff. I haven't really gotten that deep into it yet, but it's pretty cool and ties in a lot of different. I don't know the topics so like rebirth and karma and things, which I don't know seemed like a pretty fun thing to talk about to me because I have my own I don't know my own kind of beliefs and theories about it, and yeah, so that'll be I guess the first will be one of the series, and another obvious one will be about Buddhism, which obviously is kind of similar in the sense of the rebirth and karma and things. But I think because I'll be talking about kind of a more contemporary source of that, the Buddhist videos would be more about, I guess, like the Buddhist view of the universe. Because if you haven't like read about Buddhism that much, you might think it's all about karma and like being reborn into heaven and that sort of stuff. But at least my exposure to Buddhism has been a lot more of um, kind of framing the world around you in terms of your own experience, and kind of seeing like I don't know, instead of talking about chemical elements like science does, talking about kind of cognitive elements of reality, like the something called the five aggregates. I'll probably make a video about, which is um, more or less saying like you have consciousness and then you have things that arise in consciousness that compose the reality that we experience. And well, I shouldn't get too deep into it with an overview video, but it's some pretty cool stuff. It gets very complex and very like directly applicable to at least to meditation and thinking about reality. And yeah, so I think the next I've at this point I have five different things. The next one I'll talk about is non-duality, which I think kind of gets merged with Buddhism these days. Like people would talk about like non-duality, or like Buddhism is a non-dual what do you call it, like framework, like way of thinking about things, which I think is kind of limiting because Buddhism is has a lot of non-duality to it, but non-duality is kind of a non-religious, non-scientific. Um, it's kind of like a nothingness. Like this, it's not really a framework of thought, and it doesn't have a theory of the world. It's sort of just the concept that there is no such thing as duality. With duality being like saying that one thing is different from another. So it's basically the idea like nothing is different from anything else, and at the same time, there's things to say about that topic. I don't know. Non-duality is very hard to talk about without it, without saying the wrong thing about it, basically, because there's like nothing to actually say about it, but there's things that it disproves, and things that it like kind of deconstructs logically. Like one of the obvious things is the concept of karma. It's like karma is very useful as a concept, but from the perspective of non-duality, there's no person that gets karma, and there's no results that are separate from the actions that would produce it. It's I don't know. That'll be a fun videos to make. Very confusing, but But yeah, next one, and there's like 100 mosquitoes buzzing around me. Anyway, next one, I guess, yeah, it was about shamanism, which includes the ideas of spirit animals and things like that. Which, in a way, mosquitoes are kind of a spirit, but I think that's probably not the main thing I'll talk about with shamanism, because I don't know, spirit animal stuff gets very like magical sounding, which I obviously think magic is very interesting, but talking about things in a magical way doesn't always make a lot of sense, because you just kind of say, yeah, no, they're spirits, but you don't really understand them. They're just kind of a magical thing. So I think I'll stick, at least at first, with the more of the shamanic techniques, because I've done a bit of what you call shamanic vision journeying. That's probably the right way to say it. Kind of the concept, or the technique of going inside your own mind and seeing, I guess, seeing the kind of the visual landscape that your mind can generate when it gets disconnected from like the outside landscape. It's yeah, that doesn't make that much sense. It's basically like a waking dream that you can experience, like with your eyes closed, and you it functions kind of like a lucid dream, but it has a lot of differences. Obviously, the lucid dreams are all about, I don't know, you realize you're dreaming and you start flying around, that sort of thing. But the shamanic journeying tends to be more of you you kind of initiate it by thinking, like imagining yourself walking in the forest, or imagining yourself like in a cloud or something, and kind of going from there and allowing yourself to it's kind of like allowing your mind to create a visual experience and seeing the parts of it that your mind doesn't create, like for example the spirits that you might encounter, and yeah, kind of just using it for whatever you need. You know, I've done a bit of the traditional shamanic healing where you kind of find like a spirit guide and you see what it has for you, like the lessons it can teach you. But there's a lot of stuff you can do also of just like exploring and, I don't know, seeing what cool things you can find. And this is really where it starts to get back to the concept that all of these are really the topics I'm talking about are very interrelated. Where the Dolores Cannon stuff, the convoluted universe, is about you know, someone she would have someone that she would hypnotize and then lead into like a past life, whereas shamanism is essentially a excuse me it's like a kind of a self-guided version of that, where you essentially put yourself into a trance or like a meditative state, and you see where you guide yourself. And it can be a past life type of thing, but it tends to be more of like a present life, kind of a, I don't know, like journey into your own mind. So yeah, it gets very very deep. I'll definitely make videos that are specifically about like how this thing relates to the other thing. You know, like the concepts of karma or concepts of vision journeying. But I shouldn't get ahead of myself. What was I? Yeah, the final video series I'm gonna make is about the Law of One, which is kind of similar to the Dolores Cannon stuff, where it's I think the group of 3 people where they did a lot of I think like ghost summoning, like seance type of things, which I don't personally put much value in. But what they discovered in their projects is that they found something that instead of being like a ghost, it was kind of the right way to put it is like it's a kind of a consciousness that they found that claims to be an Egyptian god named Ra, who is like one of the main gods of Egypt. It was like the sun god, and it's one of those things you really have to like approach with a lot of skepticism, because there's no real like substance to the claim that it's essentially the book that I'm talking. It's the book is like a lot of interviews where it's one person in the group is talking to the other person, and the other person is hypnotized and is speaking on behalf of this god. And it's the sort of thing like there's no actual proof one way or the other. So if you just suspend your disbelief and figure like maybe this is some higher intelligence you're talking to. It can lead to some interesting ideas because they talk a whole bunch about well, about a bunch of stuff, but from the part I've read so far, it's a lot of like talking about the levels of consciousness and how like the consciousness that's speaking in the book is, well, I think it said it's on the 6th density, and human beings are on the 3rd density, and we can transition to the 4th density through different techniques and stuff. Which I don't know. There's some interesting things to talk about without falling into the trap of saying this is real or this is true. But yeah, I think I'll mosquito just lands on my nose. Um, yeah, I think I'll probably start with Dolores Cannon stuff because that's the a book that I'm reading right now. But but yeah, I have a lot of stuff to talk about. I look forward to kind of just seeing where I go with it. And I'm gonna shoot this away. Um, but yeah, uh, not too much else to say, I guess. I'll make videos somewhat frequently, I think, because it doesn't take very much work. I'm just kind of going out into the forest and talking to a phone. But yeah. Thanks for watching, I guess. See you in the next video.